Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. This is episode number 168 for May the 24th, 2022. And to all my Canadian subscribers out there, I hope you had a good long weekend. It was the Victoria weekend holiday, so I hope you had some good times with your family and whatever else you were doing. Of course, the weather, depending on where you lived in Ontario, in southern Ontario, kind of took a turn for the worse for about 20 minutes or so. We did have some tornadoes touch down in place north of us. We had microburst here, and I talked all about this yesterday on my vlog, and I talked about it on Sunday on Stephen and Walter Live. We didn't have anything happen to us, but our neighbors next door lost some of the shingles on their house, and some of the other neighbors had a little bit of destruction in terms of trees coming down and tree branches coming down, fences blowing over, and more shingles coming off roofs. But we were untouched, which was, lucky, very lucky. And, we really feel for our neighbors out there that have had some damage done. And, of course, the people who are north of us that lost their homes in some cases too. It's terrible. I know that in the southern United States, in Tornado Alley or whatever they call it down there, these are occurrences on a much bigger scale and happen more often. But for us, it was very, very scary because, well, we just don't have this kind of thing on a regular basis at all. It's never a good thing, no matter how often it happens, right? But anyways, yeah. It was basically our first experience with something like this, and as I said, we were lucky, and yeah, what more can you say? It's Mother Nature at work. I guess she was being a real bitch on Saturday. But anyways, so what have I been working on? Well, I have finished my Modern Curves quilt. This is the one that I was working on doing the Drunkard's Path. It's for the Quilters Way, which is my paid online group I belong to. It's part of a series that the owner of the Quilters Way, Kim Jamison Hurst, is putting together to teach us how to sew curves. And I did something a little untraditional. When I made my curves, of course I did. I know there are people who would say that about me. But I used my Accuquilt, and yeah, I found a way that, at least for me, works in getting accurate curves. And if you want to know how to do that, and if you haven't seen it already, there is a link in the show notes below to a tutorial that I put up about my method for doing curves, which actually, in my opinion, takes the worry and frustration out of sewing this kind of thing. So you might want to check that out if you're interested. And I've also just shown to show you, this is a work in progress. This is the Lakeside Quilt, which is the block of the month that I'm doing with Donna, the hostess with the mostest from Ultimate Sewing. She's doing an online Zoom class with this. And of course, it is a block in a month. So each month we get instructions for the next stage of this. And you can see mine's going to be very bold in its color choice, but that again is my style. And this has been somewhat challenging and frustrating. If you've heard me talk about this before, I've had a few little problems getting the blocks the right size. And then I discovered that my 1/4 inch seam allowance foot with the edge guide was causing me grief. I have since stopped using it and things have worked out a lot better. But not so much on this quilt. The blocks are coming out close to each other, but not exactly what the pattern calls for. And I blame that on the fact that you have to cut a lot of these pieces in 1/8 of an inch, like 7/8, 3/8, that kind of thing. Now, yes, you can round up to the next whole number. So like 2 3/8 becomes 2.5 inches, 2 7/8 becomes 3 inches, and then you trim them down. And that is what I have been doing. But the problem, I think that is causing a slight variance, just a slight one. That's all it takes, of maybe 1/8 of an inch, but that compounds when you start putting the pieces together. So I will carry on with this. We don't get the next set of instructions for a couple of weeks yet, and I will make it work. I am determined I will make it work. But when I put it up on the design board, just to get a feel for what this might look like once you start putting it together, I noticed that one of my blocks I put together incorrectly. I had put one row in the wrong spot. So I'm glad I put it up on the design board, because I wouldn't have noticed that until it was too late. And so I was able to fix that fairly readily. Yeah, we'll see how this looks when it all comes together. Right now, it's difficult to tell what it's going to look like. In fact, in a way, it looks like a mess. But it is pretty. I'll say that. It is pretty. And I finished a UFO. And this UFO, I call it cock block. Okay, let's not go there. I made this quite a while ago, probably 2 years ago. It was a paper piece pattern in the center, and the rest of it I created, was my own design. And it's not a huge quilt. It's I think it measures about 60 inches square, about that. But anyways, it has, the top had been done for quite a long time. I just needed to quilt it, and so I threw it on my Lucy the other day, and I programmed the quilt path, the computerized software for Lucy, and let it do its thing. And I'm really pleased with the way the quilting turned out. And I'll just do a little close-up here. I did a series of curves and circles, kind of a thing. And yeah, I think it worked out really quite nicely. I bound it yesterday. And oh, I'm telling you, yesterday, I'm losing it. I swear, I am losing it. So I found some batik fabric that was kind of this shade of red, and I thought that's what I would use. So I cut my strips. I used the Accuquilt to cut the strips. Makes short work of cutting 2.5-inch strips for binding. And I was putting the bindings together, you know, doing a bias join kind of a thing. Now, I've done that 1,000 times before. It's no big deal. Do you think I could get the joins in the right spot? Because there was no right or wrong side, I was getting all confused. And I kept sewing it incorrectly. To the point where I got so bloody frustrated with this, I scrapped that, looked in my extra binding bag where I put my strips of binding that, you know, I have left over from quilts, and I found a piece, the blue piece that's on there now, that was already long enough and everything to put on this quilt. But it really bothered me that I was having this, something that's so simple that I've done so many times before, that I couldn't do it. I said to Walter, I think I need to have my brain checked, because this really worried me. And the funny thing was, in the back of my mind, I knew what I should do. I mean, you put the right sides together of your fabric when you lay them across each other to make your binding. And even though I didn't have right side or wrong side, I could have simply taken a piece of chalk and marked the right side or the wrong side on each of the strips and done it that way. That would have made my life easier. Why didn't I do that? Why? I guess because I figured I don't need to do that. That's too juvenile. I can figure this out, but I couldn't. So the happy consequence to this, or the happy conclusion to this, is I like the blue binding better than the red binding on it. So it worked out. But that really bothered me, because one of the things, the reasons why I quilt is to keep my brain going. Because, you know, you get to a certain age. I'm going to be 65 in another couple of months. And I have to admit, quite frankly, 65 is scaring me. It really is. Where's the time gone? You hear people say that, but it's very true. It seems like yesterday I was 60. And that didn't scare me as much, but 65 is really kind of scaring me. And there's not a heck of a lot I can do about it, right? Time happens. But I'm just wondering. I know my father had some cognitive problems near the end of his life. My mother too. And, you know, I don't know if it's hereditary. But anyways, I got the quilt done. And yes, I call it cock block. Tongue in cheek. Okay. On that one. Okay. Let's move on here. Okay. So, I got another bag from Vistaprint. Vistaprint's the company that makes, they're most famous for, I think, their business cards. They're very fast, they're very efficient, they're very good. You design it all on their website, whatever you want. And of course, you know, they have merchandise, and I'd shown you before my mugs. And you do remember too that I had a problem with one of my mugs. The handle came off in the dishwasher. I wrote to the company, and they very kindly replaced the mug. But they also, which I was not expecting at all, they gave me a full refund for the price of the 4 mugs that I ordered, which I thought was above and beyond what they needed to do as customer service. So, you know, I'm very impressed with this company. But I had this money. I had about $56. So I decided I'd buy some more products from them using that. And I actually spent more than $56, but that's okay. I got part of that order in the mail. And here it is. Another tote bag. Now, this is a little different from the other tote bags that I ordered from them. This one is a little bit heavier duty. It's two-toned, and it has a zipper. And I really like it. I think it's really quite a nice tote bag, and it's got my logo on it as well. So I got 2 of these, and I gave one to Walter. He kind of said, you know, what am I going to do with another tote bag? Well, you know, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, kind of a thing. And I also ordered some sticky notes with my logo on them. Now, I think they're going to arrive today. The 2 did not come together in the order. In fact, I was a little worried about that. So I wrote to them again and said, hi, you know, I've received the tote bags. I haven't received the sticky notes. You know, can you let me know that they're still on the way? And they wrote right back to me and said, oh, yes, they'd be right on their way. And the curious thing was, they're coming by UPS. You know, if you saw my thing yesterday about UPS, you know how I feel about them. Anyways, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But yeah, it has a different company that it's coming from's name. It's not Vistaprint, Precision Printing. So I wonder if Vistaprint is the sort of the front store to a company, to other companies that they hire out themselves to do their printing and things like that. I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't care as long as everything turns out, and they have so far, fine. And their customer service, as I've said, is really, really good. So I have no qualms about ordering from this company in the future. And I have ordered from them in the past as well, business cards and things like that, and I've always been pleased. And, you know, this little quirk with the mug, but as I said, they made it right. In fact, they did more than just make it right. They went up above and beyond. So that's Vistaprint. They don't pay me. They don't give me anything to tell you about this. I'm just giving you an honest mini review of this particular company if you've never dealt with them before. Okay, so I did purchase some fabric as well, and this is where my saga starts. Now, you may have or may not have seen my vlog yesterday or Stephen and Walter Live, and I talked about this in detail there. So I'm not going to be in as much detail, but I want to focus my attention a little bit on the supplier of the fabric, and it is called Quilters Apothecary, as you can see here up on the screen. Let me just get rid of me for a minute. Now, this is a place in Michigan, and it's run by a man. You may know his name because I think he's a little bit famous for doing long arm quilting, called Jamie Wallen. His videos are very good, especially about long arm quilting. So if you're into long arm quilting, you probably know who he is, and you've probably already checked him out. But what I didn't know about him was that he has this little online store where he sells fabrics and other products as well. So I'm just going to take you down to, if I can find. But anyways, his fabric, he's got some really cool fabrics. As you can see here, these collections. I bought some of this as a charm pack. It is Aboriginal. He calls it Aboriginal. It's Australian. Some of the fabric I've had before, like Northcott, that I can get readily enough. But there was one collection here that I really liked, this one, in the beginning. And I'll just click on that and show you what I ordered. So I didn't order that one. I ordered this one and the purple one. I think I ordered this one. Or one of those. Anyways, I ordered some of that. I ordered 6 yards of 3 different fabrics, like 2 yards each of 3 different fabrics. And I ordered a charm pack. Now that came to about, in Canadian dollars, about $160, including what he listed as shipping. Well, I didn't realize it, but under international shipping, he ships by UPS. Now, apparently there was an option you could have it sent by United States Postal Service. I didn't see that. I missed it. Where he lists the shipping is kind of awkward, I thought, at least as a first-time person coming to the website. Now, this has nothing to do with Jamie Wallen. I am not criticizing him or anything like that, but what it led up to is why I won't order from his website again. I liked his fabrics. He had some fabrics that I have not seen before. That doesn't mean they weren't available in other places in Canada. If I had really done a search, but there they were. He was in Michigan. His prices on his fabric aren't bad. Actually, when you do the exchange rate, they work out to about the average price of fabric here in Canada. And his shipping that I saw didn't look unreasonable. But here's where it got me. UPS. Now, yesterday I did a whole rant about UPS. I hate UPS. UPS are crooks as far as I'm concerned. They double dip. When anything that gets shipped to Canada, they collect the duty, and then they charge you for collecting the duty, and they charge tax on top of that. So my $160 order in Canadian funds ended up costing me an extra $60 Canadian with UPS. Well, basically, that you work that out, it wasn't worth ordering that fabric from Jamie. Again, not his fault, but I wrote to Jamie about this situation just to let him know, because I thought, well, maybe he's not aware of the situation. And I did get a reply back from his partner that said this. Our little business is just Jamie, my partner, and I trying to make a living. We've always offered USPS shipping to Canada, that's United States Postal Service, shipping to Canada, but had also offered UPS due to many Canadians willing to pay the premium in order to get their order in prompt manner. I'm not sure what Missouri Star or others do to ship to Canada. Now, I mentioned in my message to him that Missouri Star and a couple other places that we deal with in the States do not ship by UPS, and we don't end up paying all this extra charge for the shipping. He says they are much larger than what we are and have more resources. We truly have no control over what UPS charges as we don't with USPS. Okay, I understand that. I get that. As I stated in my earlier email, I have removed UPS as an option for Canada and most likely get a few angry emails from other Canadians that want that option. You know, if you get angry messages from other Canadians, then those Canadians obviously have a lot of money to spend. Okay? I'm sorry for your frustration, and we do care. So that stands up for me as showing that that this Jamie and his partner really do care about their clientele. Okay? And that was great that they took the time to write that, and they actually took action and got rid of the UPS. Sorry to those of you that have lots of money in Canada and are pissed off now because you're not going to get your fabric quite as fast. Sorry. I didn't ask him to do that. I was just making him aware of the situation because I thought he needs to know. Because American retailers have a blind view of what it's like for anybody outside of the U.S. that's ordering from them. They don't care. Why should they? I mean, they have a market that is 10 times greater than the Canadian market. I am sure if they lose a few Canadian buyers, it's not going to affect them one way or the other. So why should they care about us? But as a consumer, I wanted Jamie to know why I would not be ordering from him again. Now, having said that, since he has changed over to the U.S. Postal Service, I might in the future. But if it's still UPS, I will not. And that is not his fault, as he said. But there are different tiers of service from UPS that maybe he should, well, maybe he's already done this and made his decision. I don't know. But I know there are others that would get it to us cheaper, but it might mean it would cost him more. So he might have to raise the price of his fabrics in order to cover that cost. So I don't know. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But all I know is I will not be damned by UPS again. And I will not deal with a company that ships internationally using UPS. Just won't. It's not worth it. If you're an American, you have nothing to worry about. If you're Canadian, you might want to think about it if you have never experienced what I have experienced before. But anyways, his fabrics are lovely that he has. He has limited supply of them, and I like how on his website, and as you can see right here, he mentions, you know, how much he has in stock of each of these things. So you have an idea, and I suspect they go very, very quickly. So anyways, I will show you the actual fabrics when I get them, and I'm expecting them to arrive today, but they're not here yet while I make this recording, so I'll have to save them for next week's episode. And other things that have returned to my sewing room, my M7, Janome M7 has come back from the shop. As you know, last week I said I did a stupid thing and I screwed up my feed dogs. So it went in for a cleaning, tune-up, and fixed. Cost me a little over $200 for that, which I don't think is unreasonable. Some of you may gasp, but just to have your machine cleaned and general servicing usually costs slightly over $100. So I had some parts to be replaced. Labor on them is very, very reasonable. So yeah, I don't care what it cost. I had to have it fixed because I was an idiot and I broke it. But I have it back and it's running fine, and that is great. So I've been playing around with my 3D printer, as I always do, and I needed some circle templates. Now, I looked at a couple of places online, and yeah, I could buy some acrylic circle templates, and they're expensive. You know, depending on where you go. You know, they were upwards to $50, $60 for, you know, a couple. So I went searching, and I found templates that I could make on my 3D printer. So I did. And I'll show them to you here. Let me just call this up. Bear with me. I should have had this prepared in advance. Oh, wait. I don't have to show them to you. I have a video about how I made them. And I'm going to put that in here right now. This week I thought I'd talk a little bit about my two worlds, my two major hobbies. Quilting, as you know, definitely is my major hobby, but I also like to make things with my 3D printer. In fact, I have 3 3D printers, and I'm sure those of you that have been here for a while know all about that. And usually on my vlog, I have a little segment there where I talk about what I've been printing on my 3D printer. But in this past week, I've been printing some interesting things that I purposely printed to be used with quilting projects. When I was making a bag by Annie, which is the bag, the Peacekeeper bag, one of her instructions said to round the corners, and she used some acrylic circles. You can buy these, and they come in various sizes. And I went looking for them, and they can be quite pricey. So I thought, well, you know, I have the technology. They're just a simple circle. Why couldn't I make my own set of plastic templates for circles in various sizes? Well, being a little bit lazy as well, and not really understanding how to use the CAD programs that work with 3D printing design, I decided to go to one of my repositories online for getting see if they had some circle templates. And yes, they did. Quite a few. In fact, one person designed, oops, they're all over the place, a whole set of these different circles and rings. So here, for example, is one of those that I printed out. And you notice it says 4.5 and 6. down here, a little closer up. So inside is 4.5 inches. Outside is 6 inches. So you can see that you could draw your circle or lay it down, and actually they're thick enough. And if you're careful, because this type of plastic is kind of on the soft side, it's not really acrylic. It's a softer type of plastic. You could use your rotary cutter, though, to go around this as well. Now, I really like this. It worked out well, so I made more. So I have another one that's 2.5 by 3.5, same concept. 2.5 in the center, 3.5 on the outside. Then I made another one, 3-inch and 4-inch, 3 inside, 4-inch on the outside. And then there were a few that they had. Now, this particular designer had created circles that were 1/8 of an inch as well. I didn't bother printing any of those out because I wasn't really interested, but there were some that are just do one size, like this, 1 3/4 inches, and you notice the built right into it is the size. So I printed that. I printed a 1 inch, and I printed a 1 and a half, that's what I want to say, inches as well. So I have all these, but what wasn't included in this set was some basic whole number circles, you know, like a 2-inch, a 4-inch, a 5-inch. So I decided to design my own. So I did go into an online CAD program. It's actually called Tinkercad. If any of you out there do 3D printing, you're probably familiar with it. And designed my own. So I created a 2-inch. And I just used the ones that I had downloaded and put into my Slicer program. Slicer program is a program that creates the code that the 3D printer reads and produces the final product from. So I just used that as my sort of my guide, and I created my own 2-inch. Now this one, I didn't get as fancy. I didn't embed the number right into it because I don't know how. I just took a Sharpie and wrote 2. So I know that's a 2-inch. And I did the same with a 4-inch and a 5-inch. So basically, I have enough circle templates that I think will cover almost any scenario that I may come across. And if I need one that I don't have here, I can always create it again on my 3D printer. Now, 3D printers are really great for creating templates as well. The one problem is, as I've said, that plastic, it's called PLA, that 3D printers use is a softer type of plastic. So it would be very easy for your rotary cutter to gouge into it. But if you're careful, you'll probably be all right with something like that. So in the terms of other templates like trapezoids or things like that, there are some that can be downloaded and you can print them out on your 3D printer. In fact, if you have EQ8, there is a way, now I've not really explored this in any detail, but I know there are videos out there that show you how you can take an EQ8 template and put it in a format that can be read by the Slicer program for your 3D printer, and then produce your own acrylic or plastic template as well from that. So, you know, 3D printers are not just for making cute little toys for big boys. You can also use them to create some handy quilting accessories as well. So that's my demo this week about how I am merging my world of quilting with my world of 3D printing. So that takes me to subscribers quilt of the week. This came from Armando Barron. It's a wall hanging, and it's very, very lovely. So here it is. This week's quilt from a subscriber comes from, once again, Armando Barron, who sent me some lovely pictures of his stained glass and his quilts last week, and I featured those then. But here is another one, and this one is really, really interesting. It is a wall hanging, and he says, this is a wall hanging I made using equilateral triangles. And this is definitely interesting, and if you just take a second to look at it, to stare at it, it's going to pop out at you, and it's going to change shape. It's an optical illusion. And I love these kind of quilt wall hangings. because of that. It's so interesting to look at because you're seeing, well, just stare at it for a second. And do you see how the image sort of changes in its depth and in your perception of it? Here's a close-up of the quilt itself, and you can see it is perfectly flat piece, and it's made up of, as he says, equilateral triangles. And this is really quite interesting. Now, it doesn't look like it has been quilted, unless, of course, well, no, actually it does. It looks like it's been stitched in the ditch. And I think that makes it really, really interesting. But the overall optical illusion effect is just spectacular. I must give a try at making something like this someday. Thank you, Armando. This has been a very intriguing wall hanging. Now, my YouTube of the week is Jamie Wallen's YouTube channel. We've just talked about his store. Now I want to take you to his YouTube channel, which I find very, very interesting. He is a master at long arm quilting. And so those of you that are into long arm quilting, you really need to check him out if you haven't before. So here's my review of his website, or of his YouTube channel. This week's YouTube channel of the week is called Quilters Apothecary, and this is by a gentleman by the name of Jamie Wallen, and it was recommended to me by one of my subscribers. So I really have not yet checked this out thoroughly, but it looks very, very promising, so I thought I would present it to you this week. So you can see here, a lot of it is about long arming, and it's about doing that, and I guess the techniques that this individual uses. Now let's take a look at his playlist and just get a sense here of what it is that he's, well, we're not going to get any sense because he doesn't have a playlist. So let's go to videos and see. Okay, what did Jamie buy now? Celtic wedding ring, wedding ring, rented lips, coffee with Jamie and special guest Sue Heinz. So it looks like he does some interviews. Talks more about long arm designing. So it looks to me, if you're a long armor, this might be very, very interesting, and I am, so I will be checking it out in more detail. He has a quilt along. Yeah, there is a lot of potential here, and this particular subscriber who recommended this channel to me also recommended that maybe I should contact JB and see about an interview with him. And by just looking at all the interesting things he has here on this YouTube channel when it comes to long arming, I think I might just do that. I'm not sure how much of a popular personality he is, but I'm going to study more of his videos and get a sense of what he's all about from those, and then maybe I will contact him and just see if he'd be willing to do an interview with me. But in the meantime, I think you should check him out as well, especially if you're into long arm quilting, or you just like watching videos about long arm quilting. So that's Quilters Apothecary. So what's on my vision board for future projects? Well, this is a pattern that comes from Block Magazine. That's the magazine put out, every twice a year or something like that, from Missouri Star Quilt Company. This pattern is called Spools, Stars, and Stitches. And Missouri Star Quilt always has some patterns for some really quirky, fun types of quilts, you know, novelty type quilts that I find kind of interesting. And this is one of them. And it came from Block Magazine, Volume 9, Issue 2, 2022. On my vision board this week is a pattern from the Block Magazine by Missouri Star Quilt, Volume 9, Issue 2 for 2022. I don't actually subscribe to this, but every now and then I do pick up a copy of it digitally. And when I see a pattern that I like, that catches my eye, then I will print it out for future consideration. And this one is one of those patterns, and it's called Spools, Stars, and Stitches. And it looks really interesting. Now, what caught my eye was, of course, the star pattern. But if you look at the star pattern very closely, it has something a little bit unique about it. Within the star pattern, you have this hourglass in the very center of it, and then you have a larger one off to the side. And I thought that was kind of a neat looking pattern. Of course, you have other patterns here too with the plus signs in it. And it looks like they used a quilting pattern that looks like spools. So it's a very interesting pattern. And I think in the right color combination, this is a nice color combination as it is. It gives it a very 1930s style or taste to it. I'm not sure what I would do it in, but it's just another one that I've added to my vision board for future consideration. And I'll just have to take a look through my stash of fabrics to see which ones will work the best with this. And I'm sure I can probably buy and download this long arm stitch pattern as well, because I kind of like that too. So that's Spools, Stars, and Stitches. It is not a free pattern. You need to buy the Block Magazine, Volume 9, Issue 2 for 2022 in order to get yourself a copy of this particular pattern. And so that takes me to the segment where I usually show you a teaser for an interview that I have conducted in the last week. Well, I don't have one. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have one, though. I do have one scheduled to do with someone from New Zealand that I think is going to be an absolutely fascinating interview for a variety of reasons. And I'm looking forward to that. But that interview isn't going to happen until later this week. So it will be up on the channel next week. So watch for that. But in the meantime, I fill in that space with some more of my musings. And I just call this little musing, are you getting your money's worth? Because sometimes I think, are you really interested in what I have to say and what I have to show on my channel? Because my whole intention is to give you something of value. Not that you pay anything for it, mind you, but I still feel that, you know, I don't want to waste your time. So anyways, that's what my musings were about this week. And do check that out, because I've also asked for some of your feedback on what I say there. So the link for that is in the show notes below. And that takes me to my online fabric store review for this week. And this was Birdie and Dot's Fabrics. This week's online quilt store is called Birdie and Dot, and they're located in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And here's their front page. And let's just take a look at this right now and see what they have to offer. So on their front page, they have, looks like a gallery of shots of some of their products. Okay. And then it says, welcome to Birdie and Dot Fabrics, established in 2017. We are an online Canadian fabric store based out of Edmonton, Alberta that offers high quality 100% cotton fabric for quilting and sewing. We strive to bring you the very best modern fabrics from current designers, the must-have basics. Take a look around. We hope you find something you love. Okay, well, let's just do that. We will take a look around. So, new collections. Oh, they have Juicy Juice, which is one of Walter's favorite designers. Ruby Star, Figo Fabrics, Riley Blake, Ruby Star. They have a rotary cutter they're showing here. Fancy one from Creative Grids. I haven't seen that one before. Looks like it comes with a fancy little case too. It's a fancy little price as well, $74. Pre-order this upcoming collections. So they have collections you can pre-order. What's new in the shop. A lot of Moda. Renaissance ribbons, tulip pink webbing. Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. If you can't find what you're looking for, they've partnered with a Canadian distributor, Trend Text, to offer our customers the opportunity to purchase fabrics directly from our supplier. Okay. And you have a code. If you go to that, shipping is $15 or free with a purchase of $149. That looks like that's for that particular partnership that they have. Shop by category. Yardage, not meterage, it's yardage. Featured fabric designs. Okay, so lots on the first page to pick from. Let's go right to the top again. And let's look under shop. All yardage pre-cuts, kits, pre-orders. They do it by manufacturer of different products. It's not just fabric because they have Aurifil listed there. So they have thread, by designer, new arrivals, and they have a clearance section. So let's look at their yardage. Okay. So right off the bat, I'll tell you the interface looks very user-friendly. And what do they have here? That's on sale, the Moda face mask. They have Pellon, Kona, Tula Pink. Now, the prices here, let's see, on solids, it's $5.50. I imagine that's for a 1/4 meter. Let's just see if they tell us this. Oh, fabric is sold by the half yard. All fabrics will be cut in continuous yardage. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's a good price then, $11 for 1 yard of Kona cotton solid. So then I would imagine that's how everything is done. Tula Pink then is $8.50 a half yard. So that would put it at $17 for a yard. Yes, it is. So that's not a bad price, even if it is in yardage. So you're being screwed out of 3 inches because a meter is about 39 inches. A yard is 36, but, you know, give or take, still not a bad price. Now, some of this, the Ruby Star is $9 for half a meter, so that's, or half a yard, so that's $18 a yard. Still not horrible. Panels. Okay, so prices are good, given what prices are like right now. Selection, though. We have definitely a lot of Tula Pink. We have Anne-Marie Horner. Lots of Tula Pink. Okay, so the one thing is, okay, this is sorted by best selling. Let's go with alphabetical and see what we come up with here, because there's 27 pages of fabric. So there's seems to be a lot here to go through. Lots of solids. Yeah, okay, we could be here all day searching through that. So let's look at manufacturer. Oops. Just go to Andover. Now we got some interesting designs if you're into modern geometric kind of thing. Solids again. 7 pages of that. Prices still look pretty good. Okay, let's go by designer then. Allison Glass. Very popular designer. I'm sure everybody knows Allison Glass. And yeah, so the interface is fairly user-friendly, easy, and since you have it already set up by designer or by manufacturer, I think you can find what you want fairly easily. And just by looking at the number of pages that have fabrics on it, it looks like they have a fair number to choose from. Okay, let's see if there's anything in the new arrivals section. Some interesting prints here. Yeah, so they look like the Figo fabrics. I don't see those on too many websites, so, and I'm not sure how popular they are, but I have heard of them before. So, you know, if you know about them, they might be of interest. Let's look at clearance. See what we can pick up for a bargain here. Once they're gone, it says. Okay. So what are we talking about price-wise on sale? A couple of bucks knocked off, it looks like. Scrap packs. What's a scrap pack? Is it what it says? It's just a package of scraps? Mystery scrap packs, £1 on sale for $40. Ever wonder what happens to all the ends of bolts and random small cuts we have left over from cutting orders? We turn them into these fabulously fun mystery fabric scrap bundles. Each bundle weighs approximately 1 pound, approximately 3 yards of fabric, and has a mix of prints and the occasional sol or two. Fabrics are mostly quilting cotton, but canvas, cotton lawn, sateen, and wovens are spotted in the mix. No two bundles are ever the same, though if you purchase multiples, you may see occasional duplicate print. Scraps range in size, but none are smaller than 4 inches by width of fabric. These are a great way to build your stash and great for scrap projects. Well, that's kind of interesting. Especially if you're starting out and you haven't got much in terms of scraps. But if you're like me, I have more than enough scraps. I don't think I need to purchase more scraps from that. But it's interesting to know that they have that. Okay, let's go back to the shop. Let's check their pre-cuts. Tulip Pink Layer Cake, Free Spirit. They do like their Tulip Pink on this site. I unfortunately am not a big fan. I don't hate Tulip Pink. I'm just not really a fan of Tulip Pink. It's a little too girly for me. Sorry to say so, but it is. And true to her name, there's a lot of pink. And I do not like pink. Although some of these bundles are kind of nice. Kind of attracting my eye. And interesting price, $72. Well, I don't think I think that's average. So yeah, they have, looks like a fair number. They've got several pages of pre-cuts, so that's okay. Kits. What do we have in kits? Tulip Pink again. Definitely are into Tulip Pink and Anne-Marie Horner. Okay. Some interesting looking kits though. And they have the templates for these kits as well. Could be pricey, but if you're into kits and you like using templates, then this might be okay for you. All right, what I want to know now is what's their shipping? So how do we find this? Let's go to the bottom of the page and see right there. There's a link to shipping. I like that when I can find that up front. Shipping within Canada by Canada Post. 3 to 7 days estimated delivery. For orders under $30, shipping will be sent letter mail with no tracking. You can upgrade it to parcel if you want tracking. For orders between $30 to $200, we offer a flat rate shipping of $12. Oh, that's not bad. Orders over $200 will receive free shipping. Okay, that's fair. And they've got their US as well. Also, does not look unfair at all. So, yeah, it's all up front here for you and the whole bit. So, I have never ordered from this company, but I am tempted to do so because I'm finding their website is very neat, very tidy, very easy to navigate. They seem to have a fair selection of fabrics that are not your everyday fabrics. So, you know, if you want something a little bit different, I think this is a site to go to. And their shipping looks very, very reasonable, as are their prices. So, yeah, I think I may try them out someday. That's Birdie and Dot Fabrics in Edmonton, Alberta. So that brings me to the end of this week's episode, but looking ahead, Craft and Chat is coming up very quickly. In fact, next week. The first Wednesday of every month is Craft and Chat, and the first Wednesday of the month in June falls on June the 1st. So yeah, it's just around the corner. So I've put the link, the Zoom link for Craft and Chat in the show notes below, and those of you that are on my mailing list, I will be sending out later this week your own personal invitation to Craft and Chat. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we sit around and do whatever we want to do until about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, again, Eastern Standard Time. So if you're free that afternoon, Wednesday, June the 1st, please join us. All are welcome. And if you want to be on the mailing list for Craft and Chat or on any of my mailing lists, I have one for my retreats, I have one for pop-up sew days, and I have one for Craft and Chat. Please drop me a line via email. My email address is in the show notes, and I'll be more than happy to add you to the mailing list. So I hope to see my regulars and my irregulars, so to speak, anybody, next Wednesday. That's next Wednesday, not this Wednesday coming, Wednesday, June the 1st, on Craft and Chat. And so that's it for me today. I hope you have a great week. I hope the weather is nice wherever you live. And I hope you get into creating something that makes you happy. So we'll see you next week. Bye for now.